You remember this video? Gosh, it's been 8 days. Wow. Yeah, I did this 8 days ago. Footprints in the snow. Okay. I did a video about these footprints in the snow. Now, I'm going to discuss in this video not just the footprints, but the phone records and the phone records of Jen McCabe, the identifying codes attached to each and every phone call or search. I mean, Google search, hose long to die in the snow. So there's footprints right here. Now, this is around 6:30-ish. This is Mr. Camerano, I think his name is. He came to pick up Kaylee. He's already learned that John is deceased. He comes over here to the house because she's here alone. And because the other kids, you know, are at families. So this is around 6:30-ish. Now, this is a Ring camera. And so they have the time. They have the time stamp. It's a Google app. It's, you know, it's stamped. But this, you know, like it's not like on a police dash cam, you know, here on the screen. So this was showed day 7, I believe it's day 7. They show this when they show him going up here. There's footprints right here. Now these footprints are so important. They're so important because first of all, the timing that these footprints are. So this is around 6:30-ish, okay? These footprints are after all the snow. Let me clean my screen. After all the snow has fallen. Sorry. After all the snow has fallen, and you can go back and look at that video on day 7, because it's going to be a better quality we're seeing here. After all the snow has fallen, these prints were made, and it looks pretty deep. Now, what I'm going to show you, because some people said, well, we think that Karen made those with the ladies when they were looking at the tail light. Well, that video was shown yesterday, day 16, and it showed clearly there wasn't even enough snow on the ground at that time to leave footprints. It shows her here, and then she walks this way, and there's no footprints. So that's ruled out. She did not make those footprints, and then they all leave. So it is clear that these footprints were made, in fact, after she left to go with the ladies, which she never came back. She went to the hospital from that scene, and 6:30. So other people, I've talked to a lot of people, other people have seen there's footprints that goes down this driveway and goes down here. Somebody came up here after they all left, and they were at this taillight right here. Right here. At this taillight right here. And I'm going to show you, I'm fixing to show you Karen going across over there. So this is her leaving at 5 a.m. Her taillight is fully intact. It is fully intact. This is hours after she dropped him off. That tail light would be a bright white light if all the pieces were gone like they showed in the video at trial. It was fully intact. This is evidence that the DA should be using to prosecute the cops for planting pieces of her tail light. It is completely consistent. Now let me show you her not making those footprints. Now what you do notice, so here she is. Here she is. This is after she's come back. See the tire tracks? She's come back from looking for him. Now she's fixing to take off with him in her car. And do note that she had a dash cam in her car. Where's that dash cam showing her taillight missing at this time? They're hiding that data because they know when she pulls up in this driveway, that dash cam will show that that taillight is intact, just like the 5 a.m. video shows. Okay, so here she is. Do you see any footprints right here? This, and I'm going to back this up. Here she is. This person was here, coming over here. So you're going to see her walk across, and there's no footprints left. And then when you see the other video, there's no more tire tracks because all the snow's covered it up. And looky here, how her feet are positioned. That's not how. Look, watch. Watch. Let me set it to play here. You're going to see no footprints left. Watch. Here we go.
Karen just walked up.
Whoop. Hang on a second. Sorry, I had to mute it. Okay. So this is showing, this is, the ad came on. So basically, here's the tire tracks. This person's over here doing, I don't know what, but you'll see her coming across here, and they're talking about, you know, her car right here. This is fresh tracks that just came up. Here she's going to come around the side of the car. Here she comes. There's Karen. Now watch here in just a couple seconds. She's going to keep walking, and there's not going to be any footprints there. Okay? Now, this is when it just started snowing. If you remember, Jen talked about, you heard the wipers, vroom, 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 during, when she was played the recording of her calling 911. You hear the vroom, vroom. That's because it was snowing very heavily. So this is before they leave. It's just now starting to snow. Okay, so it's been snowing off and on during the night. Okay, so currently the snow is not as deep as when you see the 6:30. It's definitely deeper, and there's footprints that are fresh and it pressed through all the snow that had fallen and lain on the ground. Okay, so now she's getting ready to walk forward and pay very close attention. There's no footprints there. See any footprints? Any footprints? Nope, no footprints. Okay, now then they leave, and then she gets taken into protective custody because, and that's when she left and they found John, and she becomes suicidal. She goes to the hospital, and then you're going to see when Kaylee's getting picked up, and that white car's in the driveway, there's a lot more snow on the ground, and you're going to see fresh prints right there at her taillight. Watch. Now, there's more snow on the ground. Those tire tracks are covered up, and then you have fresh prints right there. Again, you'll have to go see the video, day 7. They're right there. And then there's a little bit trail that goes down there. You can faintly see, and down there by the tree as well. Other people said that they saw it. But definitely right there where her taillight is, there's fresh prints right there. And they're deep. You can tell that, that they were made after all the snow fell, because they're pressing through all the snow. Now watch this. And there is her taillight, fully intact. And I did a video comparing a 2021 Lexus LX570, the exact model of this car, her car right here, showing the details of the taillight so that you can compare that, in fact, there's absolute total consistency. That taillight had a crack in it, but it wasn't missing pieces. It wasn't all busted up, and there was nothing left of the taillight. Such as this right here. That is not what you see in that video at 5 a.m. So this is what it means. It means that somebody absolutely went into her driveway. Before that car left her driveway, it was broken. And I believe that her family and her parents, a lot of people believe the false narrative, not intentionally false, but just erroneous narrative, that when they towed the car, there's discrepancy at the time. There is discrepancy at the time, but it's not so they can break that taillight. That taillight was broken in John's driveway, because here at 8:30 a.m., they made a ruse to go to the house and pretend that they needed to do a welfare check, even though nobody asked for it and everybody had the kids. But they made a ruse to go to the house, the cops did, so they can have their dash cams on and then say later, oh, well, we noticed that the taillight was missing in the video. And so people also make a point of saying that Proctor had a search warrant before he even went to the house. That is because they already had probable cause. They had probable cause by looking at the video, seeing that the taillight was missing, and saying, hey, let's go get that car. That was their purpose, to go to that house and act like they needed to check on the kids, as if these family members were irresponsible, that they didn't know to go get the kids. And nobody called them and tell them, hey, we better go check on the kids, do a welfare check on the kids. No, you don't go do welfare checks on your own initiative. That's when people are concerned about somebody. And then they basically insulted the family by acting like they needed to go do a welfare check on the kids. And I'm sure the family knew to get the kids. And they did. Okay, but it's just the point. They made a ruse to go to the house and pretend to do a welfare check because they already knew that somebody had gone into that driveway and broke this taillight and collected the pieces so none of it was on the ground there, and then say, look, this taillight was fully intact at 5 a.m. So people think, well, how on earth do they think they're going to get by with this? You know the defense lawyers are going to present this to a jury. That's where people are not understanding how it works, how it's supposed to work, and how they are working the system. No, the jury's not going to see a lot of the evidence, and here's why. So here's what happens. Let's say, for example, a cop pulls a gun on a person and arrests them. And he says, I pulled a gun on him and I arrested him because he pulled a gun on me. And I'm going to charge him for pulling a gun on me. But then he does it in front of a building that he doesn't realize that there's a camera there. And the camera's time-stamped by Google, and it fully showed that the cop straight away made up that whole thing. What would happen in that situation will depend on two things: corruption and justice. If it's a just system there, what will happen is that cop will be arrested, fired, and prosecuted for pulling a gun on an innocent person and falsely accusing them of doing something that the evidence shows they didn't. In a corrupt system, what will happen is they'll say, we're going to charge you anyways, and we'll just let you think that you can prove something to the jury and quash evidence for just various types of reasons. Like in this case, what's happening is all the witnesses, many of them, are the murderers. And so their plan is to block the third-party culprit defense and opening and make them accumulate evidence, go into the weight of the evidence, and then decide in the end whether or not they get to present anything that can prove their innocence to a jury. And that is, in fact, what has happened. And it started before the trial happened, because, I don't know if you know, but so a lot of people are arguing about the marks on his arm. Well, police cop trainers of German Shepherd dogs, who have seen many thousands of pictures of dog bites, specifically German Shepherds, because that's who they work with, they're expert witnesses. They have trained German Shepherd dogs to attack. They're very experienced in dog bites, and they have unequivocally, without a shadow of doubt, said that those arm marks are dog attack marks. And that's the first thing I thought, is that some animal attacked them. So, what happens is they're going to say, well, we'll just impound the animal records. But people are trying to find out the motive. Why? Why would they kill this guy? Well, quite frankly, 4 people, according to independent investigator, was attacked by that dog. So they filed to get the animal control records. And the judge, because the judge is corrupt, impounds the animal control records. The irony, impounding animal control records. You know, you impound dogs. Anyways, so they impounded the animal control records so that basically that they take possession of those records and control who can have access to them. The public cannot get to them, and the defense cannot get to them. Now, how is this possible? Well, if you don't have the FBI to go in there and just clean house, they will do what they want to do. And that is how it works. That is literally how it works. And it saddens me to see interviews of people of the community, and you have very conservative people. They're very just like, well, we're just going to let justice play this out. We know the justice system's going to, everything will come out in trial. And they have no idea how the law works. They have no idea the games that they can actually play in a court. So making a defendant prove their innocence while blocking their ability to present evidence by saying everything she has to prove her innocence is in fact evidence of a third-party culprit. That's just how the facts are. And being blocked, it's like, well, you just have to work this one out in the appeal court. Good luck with that. That is how this is working. So what is really going to have to happen here is that the judge is going to have to be removed from the bench. That is unequivocally going to happen. Allegedly, her brother is the lawyer for Chris Albert, who, by the way, unless his records of killing some student in the drunken driving accident in Rhode Island in the 1990s, of which he fled from the scene, unless that was expunged, he's not even eligible to sit for office. He's not legally in office. And the police chief campaigned for him, or donated to his campaign. So you have somebody who's running for office when this man's dog killed a cop. And he was facing charges if they was to fess up to what happened. So we were like, why? So what, a dog? Didn't all I have to do is admit it happened? No, you don't understand. People can go to prison. If your dog, you better understand. If you have a dog and it kills somebody, you go into prison. If you think so what if the dog kills somebody, you ain't going to prison? That's a civil case? No, honey. You going to jail. You just look at the cases across the country where people have gone to jail because their dog killed somebody, and especially if they know their dog was vicious. Okay? So this dog allegedly has already attacked 4 people that they know of. So people are like, well, what if those 4 people go to the courthouse with their medical records and the police reports of how that dog attacked them? It doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to get before that jury and say, look, we were bit. We got the records, we got the pictures, we got the police reports and the whole 9 yards. That dog done attacked us. They're not going to get to say anything to that jury. Nothing. Because that would point to a third-party culprit. And the judge is trying to act like she's trying to be fair by saying, well, if it goes to the weight of the evidence, but I'm telling you, they're not going to be able to present anything to this jury. And every little thing they've tried to present, they try to present on, when they said that dog only bit one person, that's why they got rid of it. Wasn't allowed to present. Wasn't allowed to, everything is, there's so much being suppressed. They're not even allowed to impeach witnesses who are caught in lies. I don't know if people have been keeping up, but I've been keeping up. And I've been pointing out every time somebody lies on that stand. And I've been timestamp tracking it, and just, there's so many lies. And this Jen McCabe was a hot mess. I'm going to tell you what, she demanded the records every single time. She would not admit that she didn't recall. She was, refused. Even the judge told her on a minimum of 3 times, and I was moving in and out of the house. I'm sure I missed some things. She refused when the judge said, answer the question directly. She had to give a direct answer, and she did not. She was allowed to be a hostile witness. She was allowed to attack the lawyer, who, by the way, has been openly accused of committing a crime of harassing witnesses. Did you know the lawyers were accused of committing crimes by this DA? Did you know that? That's in a media report. So they were allowed in a globally seen live stream to have that woman tell the lawyer who's presenting a record that he didn't come up with, the phone record. The phone company came up with the phone record showing she made a search at 2:27 a.m., which I'm about to go over that particular search and tell you how they're marked and how they are individual searches and what the expert's going to say. Okay, so they were allowing her to call that lawyer a liar just for presenting evidence. He didn't even object, Your Honor. Please direct this witness that she may not call me a liar. She may not say that these are vicious lies, because these are records that are valid and certified, and they're from a phone company based on subpoena, which, you can't sit here and say this. You can say you disagree with it, but you cannot say that these are vicious lies. She attacked those phone records as why she was being harassed, and over and over and over said they were vicious lies. He didn't come up with those phone records. The phone company come up with the phone records. And speaking of phone record, let's go to the phone record. Okay, now, the state is going to argue with some ridiculous, silly little thing about how she had a tab open and then it was just some replay thing that just, okay, so here's why the expert witness, I believe there's a couple of them, is going to testify that it's absolutely not possible for her to have not made these calls, trying to act like that search was not made by her phone. There are tracking codes that are separate, individual, unique, and different from each and every single search. This is a tracking search number. Every time you type something or copy paste something, it is identified and it's marked and it's labeled. It's not just some tab was open at such and such time. This time, this code, this file number, this identifier is for this time right here, and it's different that every single one has their own identifier. Now watch. I'm sorry. I just think that the defense was lacking on this particular part of her testimony. One, he didn't object to the judge about her calling these lies. Your Honor, please direct the witness to not say that these are vicious lies, and direct her to say that I'm not a liar because I'm presenting what the phone company has given me. All I did was ask the phone company for the records. I didn't create these records. The phone company did. She should have never been allowed to speak in that manner. Okay, then he didn't bring up the fact that why on earth, hours after this man is deceased and everybody knows he's dead now, why are you Googling how long to die in the snow at 10:33 a.m.? That is such clear evidence that she was in a panic and trying to just, like, she thought maybe she was overwriting or that she was freaking out. That's what she was doing. He should have asked her, ma'am, why would you search hours after he's deceased this? Why would you do this? You know, I think he really was getting frustrated and angry with her. She was literally attacking him from the witness stand, not answering questions. And then there's this woman. He didn't cross her at all. And I know there's people that opine that, well, people thought she was a good witness, so she probably did. Actually, not crossing her would send that message to people and the jury that, oh, he was afraid to cross her because, no. What he could have crossed her on was the fact that she said horrible things about Karen Read while she was pretending to be her friend. Her attitude towards Karen Read, that she was a babysitter with benefits. She defamed John O'Keefe by acting like he was just some creep who used a woman for sex and a babysitter. That's all she was to him. Do you know what kind of guy would date a woman just for sex and uses a babysitter? That's a creepy dude. That is one creepy dude that would do that. That is not who John O'Keefe was. This woman sat on that stand and Jen testified that she told investigators basically that she was a babysitter, that was her feelings about her. Well, she's been pretending to be her friend. It goes to the credibility that they were fake. They were not her friends, and these are malicious, vicious, fake, nasty people who would even insult the deceased in an investigation of his murder. That's who she was. I mean, he just had nothing for her. And I'm just like, this woman also said something so important that was so not addressed by this defense attorney. I think he's a really good attorney. He's doing a fantastic job, but he's missing stuff. He's not even aware, I'm sorry, but he's not, of those footprints in the snow. He does not know about those footprints in that snow. I'm confident of that. And this woman said something so important. She used one word that is so important. Because when you make inconsistent statements, that's actually a form of perjury. Because if one statement completely contradicts the other statement, that's perjury, guys. She said that she saw a tiny hole. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? She said she saw a tiny hole. She did say that, some of it was covered up by snow. But no, people. That is so important because later he just tries to gloss over that and act like he should have ran with that. Didn't you say there was a tiny hole? So how you going to make a tiny hole? Now she may have said, well, I said it was covered. Honey, a tiny hole. How on earth are you even going to see a tiny hole? That's a detail word that, anyways, I'm not going to get stuck on that. But let's go back to this. This camera clip is missing. That the defense should be demanding. Her dash cam of that tail light right there at this time was intact. because it was intact at 5 a.m. When she left at 5 a.m., look, this is 5 a.m., guys. That taillight is intact, okay? So this is her when she wakes up and she's going to look for John. This is before she goes and gets the ladies and jumps in the car with them. She's, here she is. That taillight is fully intact, guys. Now look, this is approximately a half an hour later, okay? So you best believe that dash cam that woman has in this car right here is going to show this taillight with that light shining on it is fully intact. Okay? Now watch. This is a little while later. Karen's at the hospital. He's come and John's been declared deceased. Karen's at the hospital. And these footprints are right here. It stopped snowing. See that? Those footprints are at that taillight. And there's a trail of them that goes down that driveway. And I'm sure when you get the camera to find out who made these footprints right here, because they were made after she left with the ladies. She never come back to this house. It wasn't her that made them. Whoever made these footprints right here, the FBI can get that data. Because if it's saved, when even got somebody movement around here, you best believe they're lying and saying there ain't no video showing who made those footprints. But I guarantee you, there's a video. And the feds can get it. And people need to rise up and demand that video. So no, sadly, unless people rise up and demand that these cops be arrested and the DA be arrested and the judge be removed from the bench, because she is colluding with them to suppress evidence. She absolutely is. And I know judges have a lot of power and they have a lot of discretion. They call it discretion power. But when you know that a crime has happened and people are committing perjury and you're deliberately, willfully suppressing that evidence, and your brother is the lawyer of one of the witnesses who is in collusion with the crime, I'm sorry, you don't have any business being on this case. And people can do one thing. They can, everybody sign a petition and write the Judicial Removal Commission of the state of Massachusetts and say, we have a problem. And you lay everything out, get a lawyer to prepare it or whatever. And you say, there's an integrity problem with this court. This judge volunteered for this case and she is in fact, and you need to have the evidence of how she's related to Chris Albert or the lawyer. Her brother is a lawyer that represented Chris Albert. And you best believe if his record is not expunged for that felony, for that hit and run, and for that killing, DUI of that student in the 90s of a foreign exchange student in Rhode Island, he's not eligible to sit in office. And that judge knows it. And she knows her brother's representing that man, represented him, knew of his crime, knew he's not eligible to sit in office. She is in collusion. And she needs to be removed from the bench. She has no business sitting on this case. And this DA needs prosecuted because he colluded with these officers who, these evidence of these videos showing that taillight fully intact at such and such time. And that Google search fully showing that she did make that search. And impounding, he's helping them to suppress evidence, impounding animal control records that shows evidence of motive of why they killed him or threw him out, because he was attacked by that dog. The phone records show he walked over 80 feet after he was arrived at that address. This hasn't been shown yet, but this is what the defense has. If you have not read the defense records, well, you need to get in and read the defense records. Because what they have, they're going to show that he walked over 80 feet, which is consistent with her original memory that she watched him walk up to the door before these women got a hold of him and messed with her mind because she trusted him and started saying he never made it into the house. And she starts thinking, oh my gosh, my memory's messed up. What did I do? Messed with this woman's mind. But I don't care if she confessed. Oh, I did it. Arrest me, take me in. I don't care. That's false confession because the evidence doesn't line up. That taillight was intact at 5 a.m. Period. However they say it. But the bottom line is, he walked 80 feet. The activity on his phone app shows. He also climbed stairs. He climbed upstairs more than one flight. Equivalent to more than a flight of stairs. And then after he got up to the top of the stairs, he went 30 some more feet. I believe it's 34 feet. He went over 30 more feet. It shows everything he did while he was in that house. Now, it's consistent if a dog was, guess where? It's already been testified that's where they kept that dog. Because if he heard, maybe the guys were upstairs and they called him up there and he went up there and he walked into the wrong room. Maybe he had to go pee because he was drinking. And he walked into the wrong room. He didn't know that house. He didn't know that dog. He'd never been to the house before. He walked upstairs and either that dog got loose or he walked in the wrong room and that dog attacked him. And multiple fractures on his head could be where he fell down the stairs and hit his head multiple times. And cut his head on something on the way out. That's why they sold the house. And they just destroyed, the evidence by removing flooring. Got rid of the dog. And then who knows what they sent into the lab to test for dog DNA. They could have wiped their shoe and sent it in. Because when they're in control of the evidence, they can plant and manipulate anything. That's why they had no business. And that state officer should be arrested. He had no business on this case. None. And the feds would have already arrested if they're going to arrest. That's why people need to get out, and especially people in Massachusetts, especially people in Canton. I feel so bad for these people who really think that they can trust this system and just think, well, it'll all come out in court. No, honey. People, listen, it doesn't all just come out in court. They have control, and they'll suppress it. If you think that they are going to allow a man who's not even eligible to run for elect office because he has a felony for a hit-and-run drunk driving and fleeing the scene, unless those records are expunged, he's not eligible to be sitting in the office that he's in. And this judge knows that. And her brother was his lawyer. So anyways, I just hope people keep rising. And I am so sick and tired, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or disparaging to the blogger who got into that community and exposed things. That's great. But I'm sick and tired of people in this courthouse acting like that because of this one blogger that all these people are upset. Let me explain something to you. Dateline is a very well-known national television show that people around the world watch. They did an interview of these parents of Karen Reed who showed that taillight was intact at 5 a.m. and talked about the Google search. How long to die in the snow at 2 a.m., 2:27 a.m. Do you think that every person in Canton who knew their little old town was fixing to be up on some national television show wasn't posted to their TV to watch that show? You best believe there's a lot of people mad. And it ain't just because of a blogger. Although he did cause some ruckus in that town. Yes, he did. But they are openly trying to minimize all the people being upset to some little blogger and his groupies. Honey, it's so much bigger than that. It is so much bigger than that, y'all. Millions of people. I have looked at so many different videos. I have collected the data of the commenters on various many sources of blogs and just different social media platforms and videos all across the board. It is 80-20 and rising, meaning 80% are just like these people are corrupt, and 20% like they either don't know or they're just stuck as trolls, or they're just they just get to the case. 80% of all the commenters know there's corruption here. And that's a whole lot of people. That's a whole lot of people. Anyways, please, I'm begging you to contact the Department of Justice. Flood Massachusetts FBI. Flood Massachusetts U.S. State Attorney who's over this jurisdiction. Call and call and call and call and write and write and write. If people would just do one simple thing, because I'm telling you, if these people get by with doing this and ignoring evidence that clearly exonerates her, and they're just so arrogant that they just know they're going to get by with it because they got the system, they got the power. That's why they're so arrogant. That's why she's acting like that in court, refusing to answer questions. disrespecting the judge by when she tells her, asks a direct question, she doesn't even answer her. Straightway calling the lawyer a liar because he presented a phone record that the phone company presented. The phone company gave him a record and she called him a liar because he presented that record in court. That is not appropriate for any judge to ever tolerate that from any witness in a court of law. And it's up to people. They really need to rise up and say this is unacceptable. And all these media companies anywhere online who is just ignoring the evidence against them, people need to call them out and say, you know what, we ain't watching your stuff, we not clicking on your websites. You know how many media are disabling their comments because they don't want to hear the people's voices against this corruption. People need to call them out. And I'm tired of people going to these courthouses and rambling and carrying on. It's not doing any good. I appreciate their fire. I appreciate their spirit. I appreciate their willingness to get out there and stand up. But where they need to be standing with their signs is at the U.S. Attorney's Office, is at the Congressman's office, is at the FBI office. And say, arrest now, arrest now, arrest now. That's where they need to be. You are speaking to hard hearts when you go up on them courthouses. It's not doing a bit of good. Go take your energy to the people who have the power and are already investigating. Make a big scene there. Go to the media sources who are refusing to cover this. Okay? I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.